Hi there, Paul Thomson here from Spitfire Audio. I'm very excited today to show you Spitfire Appassionata strings. This is our next generation string legato library, capable of creating flowing, passionate lines full of movement and dynamism. It uses our new technique of recording, which we call impulse legato, and it's something that has its roots in our experiments back in 2007 when we first created the bespoke orchestral libraries. I'm going to dive straight in and show you what it's all about. Now, before I start telling you more about the detail, let's have a quick listen to the cellos as well. So there's a huge amount of clever stuff going on under the hood here, but we've captured these 5 dynamic layers in such a way as to really maximize the potential for these kind of singing, passionate lines. And that extends all the way from the whisper quiet PP level all the way up to the full-throated, absolute fortissimo but you've got all of that detail in between. Now, you can ride the mod wheel to get through the different dynamic layers, and that works really well just on the basic setting here. But we've got some new tech in here as well on the dynamic front, which is called dynamic smoothing. Now, at the moment that's set to agile, that's the default position. But if we set it to relaxed and you have a listen to the same thing, you'll hear that the way that we travel through the dynamics is much, much smoother. And so if you're playing something where you really want to be able to ride the mod wheel without worrying too much about the layers, then the dynamic smoothing will help you to not have to worry quite so much about where you're crossing over the transitions. And it does a really clever job of smoothing all of that stuff out. Now, this is a library that you really genuinely don't have to move the mod wheel that much to get a very definite change in the dynamic and the kind of musical emotion of what you're playing. And I'll just show you that. I'm not going to go above MF. And as you can hear, you've got a huge variety of emotion, even just within that small range of the mod wheel. It really is very, very sensitive and incredibly easy to get a fantastically musical performance from the library. just playing with the sustain notes is just makes hairs on the back of my neck stand up. It's so fantastic. So here we've gone outside of the legato. The legato is obviously the prime kind of reason for the existence of the library. That's the main thing that you're probably going to be using most of the time. But we've expanded this out so that you've got these sustain patches, so you can just do these lovely, beautiful, expansive things. You can play polyphonically. You don't have to play monophonically as you do with the legato articulations. But we've also got a few extra things in here as well. We've got these hairpins. There are 3 different varieties. Now, they are designed to be used with the mod wheel. So I'll just point that out first of all. But I'll show you what they're like if I keep the mod wheel still, just at the bottom layer here. Middle. And top. Now, this is the key thing. These are performed in a different way according to the starting dynamic. So if you want to create a very shaped hairpin, you use the mod wheel to travel through the dynamics. Or you can start at the top and create a fantastic FFP or SFP. And of course, we can, again, travel through the mod wheel. So you can create lots of different shapes just using the mod wheel position. And this one has a bow change in the middle of it, but you can use that again, just the very softest element. And the final element from our articulation list is this glancing attack. Now, this is a really interesting kind of short note because it has the vibrato in it. It has that kind of feel that it's passing through. And these go really, really beautifully with the hairpins and with the legatos as a kind of toolkit to build these kind of phrases. So going back to the legato, we've got a variety of other options. So you've got this beautiful reverb, and there's a variety of different pull downs that you can use up here. You can dial that right up if you want a really sploshy wet sound. You've got the tightness which controls how closely you cut into the very start of the first note in a phrase, in a legato phrase, or for the polyphonic patches to the start of each note that you play. You've got the release, which adjusts how much of the release you have at the end of each phrase. Now, if I show you an example of this, that's the default position, but you can dial this right up if you want more haul. Or if you want to tighten up the sound of the library and make it drier, you can pull that right down as well. So for any fans of a drier sound, that's the way to achieve that. But I'm going to put that back up to 50%. You have the legato offset, which enables you to either tighten up or lengthen the legato transitions and gives you a handy indication of the time that you are offset by. And then finally, we've got this rather exciting new bit of tech in here called noise floor. Now, one of the things that is sometimes missing when you are creating a mock-up, creating your own kind of composition using these plugins, is the sound of the noise floor of the studio. And it's a really hard thing to kind of put back in. I'm going to show you something rather exciting. Now I'm going to turn it up quite high so you can definitely hear it. And now you can hear that fantastic noise floor. Now, what I tend to do with this, I'm going to turn it off for a moment. What I tend to do with this is I do have it on each instance of an instrument that I'm using, but I just maybe put between 5 and 10% in. It's triggered when you start playing, and then it carries on for a while until it switches off after a predetermined time. You can check the manual for all of the details, technical details of this. But all you have to do before, if you want to record a piece and you want to open the piece with the sound of the noise floor coming in gently, if you're going to fade that in before your notes start, you just have to trigger the first chord and then start playing, and your noise floor will be automatically triggered. It's very useful. Sounds a bit weird, but I think once you've started messing around with it, as long as you don't overcook it, you'll probably find it quite an exciting addition to the functionality of the plugin. Now, what about the mic signals? Well, we've got 4 different mixes to start off with. So you've got this default mix, which is mix 1, and this is what we've been listening to at the moment. It's a great all-purpose kind of cinematic, beautiful mix. Now I'm going to load up the second violins and we'll start looking at the different mix options you've got, just so you can hear a bit more of the library and the different sections as well. So here are the seconds. Absolutely beautiful. Right, let's have a look at some of these different mixes. So the second mix is the largest, most kind of wide screen, if you like, mix, and that sounds like this. You've got mix 3, which is a slightly tighter mix and showcases a little bit more of the instrument sound. And you've got mix 4, which is the most intimate mix. Beautiful. Now, you'll have heard there that I'm triggering different things. So the 3 kind of transitions that you have to play with. The first one is the normal bowed transition. That happens at the for the majority of the velocity range, up to 99 on the velocity range. The second one is the bowed transition that starts at 100. And then once we go onto the top string for the violin 1s, the violin 2s and the cellos, we have recorded an extra, I don't want to call it a portamento. It's not a portamento. It's a sul top string, so sul E for the violins, transition from the perfect fifth upwards. Now, this is, again, it's designed to do what most string sections would naturally do when you had this kind of thing. So rather than trying to cover things that probably wouldn't be played in practice, what we've tried to do is we've created something that you don't need to concentrate too hard on. So if you're playing above that E and you're playing a, let's say the -6 stretch like this. So that's our normal fingered transition. If I play slightly harder, then we get the bowed sound. And you can hear the change, you can hear the transition there, the bow change. But if I've got the mod wheel at the top and we're playing at that kind of most emotive and passionate and kind of Rachmaninoff area of the range, and I play the second note harder, then we trigger that most emotive transition. Now, when you start playing with it, you'll find that that just falls incredibly simply and naturally under the fingers, and you will do all this stuff automatically. It's just so much fun to play. And a lot of this stuff is kind of built in so that it does the thing that is the most natural. You don't have to figure out lots and lots of different key switches and controllers in order to try and make it sound like a real string section. It just sounds like a real string section right out of the box. So starting there with our violas, we're looking at the stereo room mics. If I put up the stereo mids as well, then we have this really interesting colour balance here. And just for comparison, going back to our mix 1 quickly. Now, by way of comparison, we can put up our close valve mics, our tree and our outriggers, and I can give you a quick idea of how you can start building your own balance that has exactly the right characteristic that you need. And even down at the absolute quietest level, as you can hear, you've got that really beautiful feel and that movement and that kind of passion and intensity, even at the soft level. So what's going on here? Well, if I just pop the level up here and I play as I adjust, you'll hear what I'm doing. Putting the ambient mics in as well. So you can hear what's happening here. As I'm changing the levels, we're kind of changing the aperture that you're looking through, in a sense. If you imagine this as a kind of as a camera system, we're altering the depth of field, the focus, you're pulling kind of in and out of the picture. This is incredibly useful, and just even the smallest changes in this mic balance will give you really incredible results. And that's why we've put 4 mixes in here. Now, when we were experimenting at the beginning of our research and development for this new library, we tried out lots and lots and lots of different combinations of outriggers, of close mics as well. We've also got the close ribbons, which are in the library here. And I'll show you the difference if I just turn these ones off. Let's just listen to these close mics for a second. Now that, in comparison to the valve mics, the close valve mics, you can hear a really clear difference in the high frequencies that you're getting from that. The kind of top end is much more rounded off with the ribbon mics. And as you experiment with the library and as you put together arrangements, you'll see that these are really, really useful in certain different scenarios where you either want the kind of really bright, sparkly, intense sound of the valve mics or the more rounded, mellow sound of the ribbon mics. Now, a balance that I really like, that I've been using, is with the mids and the stereo mics, but then using a little bit of a taster of the other mics. This is a little bit of overkill. I've got loads and loads of mics going, but hey, I love the sound of this. And you obviously need to dial in your own sound and find the sound that you like. What about the basses? We haven't heard from the basses yet. Now this is one of my favourite bits is to play the basses with the cellos. Let's start with just the basses on their own. I just love this. Just go to the sustains. Check this out. Playing in octaves. such a rich, full sound. This is my new favourite bass sound. And obviously we have these fabulous hairpins as well. So and as you probably know by now, my favourite sound of all is the cellos and basses in octaves. Let's have a listen to what that sounds like with Appassionata. Beautiful stuff, really, really rich. Now, just for fun as well, while we're in this mode, by way of comparison, I'm going to put up the violin 1s and 2s playing in unison and the violas playing an octave down from that. And that sounds like this. Just so much fun. Now, the other thing to note with the section sizes, 86664, it gives us a perfect balance between depth of sound and also the definition and the way that we ask the performers to play their instruments. You'll find that it locks in really beautifully with both the symphonics and the chamber strings, despite the difference in section sizes. It's very, very simple to mix and match between the libraries. But also with this kind of mid-section size, you'll find it very easy to blend this with your existing string libraries as well. Never mind where they've been recorded. You can easily use the mics or one of the different mixes to match up the sound and then just blend in. And it will give you that extra really beautiful singing tone, passionate tone, so that when you're playing those beautiful long melodies or even just holding down these fantastic spread chords, you'll hear and feel the emotion in the players as they're performing. You can see that I'm quite excited about this. And this is a realization of a sound that I've been chasing since 2007. I'm really excited to have this in my palette and also really excited to hear what people do with it. It's always great to hear the different user demos as they go up. I think that you will struggle to play something that doesn't sound musical with this library. That is the beauty of it. It's so alive. It's great fun to use. So there we have it, Spitfire Appassionata strings, our next generation string legato library. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye-bye.